And in Germany, hundreds of thousands of people turned out Sunday to protest the far-right AfD party. That topped off a week of protests that have seen demonstrators turn out in unusually large numbers across the country. Organizers say over 1.4 million people showed up over the weekend to send a signal against the AfD and the rightward's drift in German society. For the latest on this, let's bring in France 24's Nick Spicer in Berlin. Nick, first of all, talk us through how big this protest movement has been so far.
The demonstrations have been bigger than most people have seen in living memory. If you put aside the celebrations when Germany wins a World Cup, people just don't take to the streets like this. You said around 1.4 million people. They were so big, for instance, in Munich, that the police actually had to tell people to get home. They weren't equipped to deal with 100,000 people. There were 4 times as many as had actually registered to come and demonstrate. And the reason why they're on the streets, if you look at the placards they're holding up, is that they feel that Germany is headed back to the 1930s, headed back to the Nazi era. They're very worried about a report that was published in an online investigative site called Correctiv, which suggested that the second biggest political party in Germany, which is the Alternative for Deutschland, is considering in secret meetings the forced repatriation of certain immigrants and of certain German nationals of an immigration background. And so you've got this giant outpouring of anger and I would say moral panic at the idea that these ideas are being discussed once again in this country.
Indeed. But Nick, so what happens next? There's been this massive protest movement. Is it going to continue? Has there been any official reaction from the government?
Well, Olaf Scholz, the German chancellor, took part in one of the demonstrations, so that gives you an indication of the point of view of the government. It's worth pointing out that if you put the 3 parties in the governing coalition together, I mean, each of them polls less than the Alternative for Germany in nationwide opinion polls. So the talk is possibly banning the Alternative for Germany. Now, of course, you can't have the parties in government or the government banning the party because that would be obviously a conflict as regards separation of power. It's rather Germany's constitutional court, which is designed to uphold the constitution and sort of have a never again purpose to look at parties that might have dangerous ideas for democracy and ban them. So the question is whether or not the Alternative for Germany should be banned. There's no indication that the court is actually considering that. However, Germany's intelligence services, which are designed to help the Constitutional Court and look at the health of democracy, have looked at 3 regional representations of the Alternative for Germany and decided that they actually represent part of the far right and could be considered a danger. All eyes will be on 3 regions of the former East Germany, where the AfD is expected to do very well in upcoming regional elections. So it's going to be, I think, something that is played out in the ballot box as well as on the streets in the weeks to come and possibly at the Constitutional Court.